All right, so this is part 2 now. We left off on verse 9. We're going to now, verse 10. We're now going to look at verse 11, talking about them blaspheming Elohim of the heaven for their pains and their sores and not repenting. Of course, we saw this early in Revelation. And also we see this with Pharaoh, with his heart being made hard. But we're going to look at verse 21, where the first set of plagues were poured out, with the 7 seals were broken. The 7 trumpets were sounded. And so the 21st verse of Revelation 9, it reads, "They did not repent of their murders, nor of their drug sorceries, nor of their whoring, nor of their thefts." So it is very akin to that. It is very akin to Pharaoh, because man's heart is going to be made that much more hard, as we're seeing take place now with these demonic outbreaks. We're seeing just ruthlessness on this earth that is taking place here. We're seeing uprisings. We're seeing all kinds of people just completely lose all semblance of sanity and reality, and just entering into just horrid states and just wretched states of ruthlessness. Verse 12, now I'm going to present 2 articles in the resources of this, because it talks about the river Euphrates drying up in order to make way for the sovereigns of the East to come for war. Now, back in 2009, the New York Times printed an article that talked about the Euphrates River drying up, and it was affecting the people of Iraq particularly. But just recently, on May 30th, the president of Turkey, whose name is Erdogan, had cut off the Euphrates River in an aggressive move of pretty much response to what the situation in Syria is, and has prevented water from going to millions of Syrians and Iraqis. And I will post that article on the links here, that you can look at yourself and seeing that this is now taking place. This is a major prophetic happening that is taking place right now, that is not being addressed in mainstream news. But we are seeing the fulfillment of this book take place. Okay, and these matters are going to lead to very, very dire situations on earth. So, it's crucial for us to have our house in order, to understand what the will of the Father is during these times, and how we are to live our lives in accordance with that, and to work it out with fear and trembling, to work out our deliverance and our salvation. And this is why, again, we are, and I say we because I'm not alone in my profession as an Israelite, but we as Israel are telling people to come out of her, lest we partake in her sins and receive of her plagues. And this is not what we are to do. We are to find ourselves with the Lamb on Mount Zion, and actually setting a banner, raising a standard, okay? But this is what chapter 12, or verse 12 is talking about. The 6th messenger poured out his bowl on the great river Euphrates, and its water was dried up in order to prepare the way of the sovereigns from the east. So again, in 2009, there was a natural drying up of the riverbed of the Euphrates. But now, again, Erdogan of Turkey is cutting off the water to Syria and Iraq of the Euphrates River, which is their drinking supply, and it has gone down in meters, and it's now probably in the double-digit meters, which is thousands of gallons of water has been affected, and many cities are now powerless because they're ran by water as well. And of course, millions of people are going to be without water, and there will be a response, a reaction, an aggressive reaction in light of this. And those 2 articles will be posted. Now, also the 13th and 14th verses are also prophecy that we're seeing take place as well. Because just yesterday, there was a meeting in the Vatican between Shimon Peres, who is representative of the dragon. Why the dragon? I'll get to that soon. There was a meeting between Mahmoud Abbas, who was representative of the false prophet. Why the false prophet? I will get to that soon. And Jorge Bergoglio, his real name, known as Pope Francis, which is the beast. So these three unclean spirits as frogs met in one place. Historic matter, unprecedented matter. Never ever has Islam, Judaism, and Christendom prayed together in the Vatican. Never, ever. But this is prophecy manifest, okay? So why, again, is the representative Shimon Peres of these Ashkenazic Jews being called the dragon? Well, first let's do this. Let's look at why they're called frogs. Why are they called frogs? Let's go to Leviticus 11 and verse 10. Wa'ikra 11 and verse 10. It says this: all that have not fins and scales in the seas and in the rivers, all that move in the waters, or any living being which is in the waters, they are an abomination to you. Okay? They are an abomination to you. Of their flesh you do not eat, and their carcasses you abominate. All that have not fins or scales in the waters are an abomination to you. And of course we know that the frog is a water-bearing creature, and they are an abomination. They are unclean. So this lets you know they are unclean right there, okay? That's why they came out of their mouths as frogs, an unclean, abominable spirit. But also when you look in Exodus, you'll see that there was a plague of frogs as well, okay? That gave these people fits, okay? And these three unclean spirits, Judaism, Christendom, and Islam, are giving people fits, okay? So let's look and examine this matter here. The dragon. Let's first look at who the dragon is. Revelation 12:9. It reads as follows: the great dragon was thrown out, that serpent of old called the devil and Satan, who leads all the world astray. He was thrown to the earth, and his messengers were thrown down with him. So this is the adversary. This is the devil, the diablos, the counterfeit, okay? The counterfeit, the adversary. Well, we'll first look at Revelation 3:9. See, I'm giving up those of the congregation of Satan, who say they are Yehudim and are not, but lie. See, I am making them come and worship before your feet, and to know that I have loved you. They who say they are Yehudim and are not, but lie, but are of the congregation or of the synagogue of Satan. Revelation 2:9. I know your works and pressure and poverty, yet you are rich, and the blasphemy of those who say they are Yehudim and are not, but are a synagogue of Satan. Those who say they are Yehudim and are not, but are of the synagogue of Satan. Who could that be? Let's go to Genesis 10. Or rather 9. Then we'll go to 10. Let Elohim enlarge Japheth. This is Genesis 9, verse 27. Let Elohim enlarge Japheth, and let him dwell in the tents of Shem. Let him dwell in the tents of Shem. And let Canaan become his servant. But let him dwell in the tents of Shem. That means let him live as Shem. Let him live as Shem lived. Let him live like Shem did and was supposed to live. Let him take his identity. Now who is Japheth? Chapter 10, verses 1 through 5. This is the genealogy of the sons of Noach, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. And sons were born to them after the flood. The sons of Japheth, Gomer, and Magog, and Madai, and Yawan, and Tubal, and Meshach, and Tiras, and the sons of Gomer, Ashkenaz, and Riphtah, and Togarma, the sons of Yawan, Elisha, and Tarshish, Kittim, and Dodanim. From these, the coastland peoples of the Gentiles were separated into their land, or the isles of the Gentiles, everyone according to his language, according to their clans, into their nations. But I want to bring up a very crucial point of this matter, verse 3, and the sons of Gomer, okay, Gomer. These are the Germanic peoples, okay, Ashkenaz. Now we know that the Ashkenazic Jews are Europeans. And I'm not saying all Ashkenazic Jews are of the synagogue of Satan, because there are some whose hearts have been touched by the Father, who are truly Torah observant and desire to be in the kingdom. But these Zionists, no, they are the synagogue of Satan, none other than Rothschild's agents, okay? These are Rothschild's agents who actually were very crucial in World War II and the decimation of their own kin. They were the secular Jews. There are many secular Jews, quote unquote, Ashkenazic Jews, because first and foremost, in the 7th century, King Bulan had the Babylonian Jews come to them and convert them during the Crusades. Okay, this is history. Look up King Bulan, Bulan, and what he did to the people of Ukraine, modern day Ukraine. This is Khazaria of ancient. Crimea was a Khazarian stronghold. Okay, Kiev was a Khazarian stronghold. So look this up. This is all history, and this is why we have to understand what is going on. And again, these unclean spirits are crucial in causing this world war to take place. Look up the Conference of Yalta and what took place in 45 with Stalin, with Winston Churchill, so Joseph Stalin, Winston Churchill, and Roosevelt, Theodore Roosevelt. Look it up and see what happened. That was Franklin Roosevelt, not Theodore. So we've identified the dragon. Now let's look at the beast. This is Daniel 7:23 through 25. Daniel 7:23 through 25. This is what he said. The fourth beast is the fourth reign on earth, which is different from all other reigns, and it devours all the earth, tramples it down, and crushes it. And the 10 horns are 10 sovereigns from this reign, and they shall rise, and another shall rise after them, and it is different from the first ones, and it humbles 3 sovereigns, and it speaks words against the Most High, and it wears out the set apart ones of the Most High, and it intends to change appointed times and law, and they are given into his hand for a time and times and a half of time. Okay, so we look at that. And then we'll also look at Revelation 13, and we'll get to Revelation 17 soon. But the same beast coming up out of the sea, as well as the beast coming up out of the earth, we have also identified as the Vatican, the Holy Roman Empire, and the United States of America, as well as Britain. Okay, so you have to see how the empire of the city is a matter of this here. Okay, this is all a part of this confluence of Fourth Empire imperialistic conquest of the earth for this one world order, this new world order, this globalization, okay, whatever you want to call it. False prophet. So we have Zionism, Judaism identified, Talmudic Judaism identified, and then we have the Holy Roman Empire identified as far as the dragon and the beast respectively. False prophet. Let's look up the false prophet. We're going to Deuteronomy 13. We're going to read the first 10 verses. Read as follows. When there arises among you a prophet or a dreamer of dreams, and he shall give you a sign or a wonder, and the sign or the wonder shall come true, of which he has spoken to you, saying, let us go after other mighty ones, which you have not known, and serve them. Do not listen to the words of that prophet or that dreamer of dreams, for Yah your Elohim is trying you to know whether you love Yah your Elohim with all your heart and with all your being. Walk after Yah your Elohim and fear him, and guard his commands and obey his voice, and serve him and cling to him. And that prophet or that dreamer of dreams is put to death, because he has spoken apostasy to you against Yah your Elohim, who brought you out of the land of Mitzrayim and ransomed you from the house of bondage, to make you stray from the way in which Yah your Elohim commanded you to walk. Thus you shall purge the evil from your midst. We'll just read those first 5 verses. Allah is not Yah. Sharia law is not Torah law. It's based in it, but it is not Torah law. Muhammad did not come speaking in the name of Yah, the Elohim of Israel. He came speaking in the name of Allah, Al-Ilah, which is one of the many guys that was already present in the Kaaba, the black stone, the moon goddess, prior to Arabia becoming a monotheistic country. They were very idolatrous prior to that, and they only adopted that which was already present to them so that they could already accept it. And look up the history and the connection between Islam and the Vatican. Okay, look up the name Rivera, Alberto Rivera, a former Jesuit priest, and his revelations about the connection between Islam and the Vatican. And we'll touch on that as well. We'll touch on that lesson soon as well. Very important. Very important. Okay. So, we have identified the dragon, which is Zionism, Talmudic Judaism, the beast, which is the Vatican, and the false prophet, which is Islam, who met recently, yesterday, as soon as yesterday, breaking history after Jorge Bergoglio's visiting of Israel, which verse 18 will address as far as this earthquake, this 4.1 earthquake that struck the land of Israel, the southern parts of Israel. As soon as this man landed and kissed the ground, there was an earthquake. I will post that article as well in verse 18. Okay. That was very, very deep. So when we get to verse 15 now, let's move on. He's coming as a thief. Blessed is he who's staying awake and guarding his garments, lest he walk and they see his shame. Let's start with the master's words. Matthew 24. We're going to look at 42 through 44. It reads as follows. Watch therefore, for you do not know what hour your master is coming. And know this, that if the master of the house had known what hour the thief would come, he would have watched and not allowed his house to be broken into. Because of this, be ready too, for the Son of Adam is coming at an hour when you do not expect him. Now, these are watchmen. Okay, we are called to be watchmen. Okay, watchmen stood at the post on the temple wall and looked around, particularly at night, to see if there were any invaders coming. Now, what happened is the head watchman with his sentinels would walk around, and if he found one of those watchmen sleeping, he would have a torch with him, of course, but he would set that man's clothes on fire to wake him up, because he had slipped that bad, and then his shame would be shown and known. You had fallen asleep on your watch. This is much akin to even the master in the Garden of Gethsemane, when he told his disciples, he told Yachanan, Yaakov, and Kepha to stay with me an hour and watch. What happened? They fell asleep. All 3 times he came back. This is when I need you most, and you're sleeping. And you didn't see these men coming into this garden when I told you to watch with me. The flesh is weak, but the spirit is willing. That's why we have to control our flesh. This is what this is all about. Again, I'm coming as a thief. Blessed is he who is staying awake and guarding his garments, lest he walk naked and they see his shame. This goes back to the Garden of Eden, when Adam ate from the tree of knowledge of good and evil and realized he was naked and finally ashamed, because prior to that they were naked and unashamed because they were covered in light. Their light had been taken. Okay, so we have to understand that. Let's keep it moving. Armageddon. Megiddo, interestingly, the first pope that came into the land came to Megiddo, Pope Paul VI, and he did not even talk to any Jews, quote unquote, but he came there with a very specific plan. And when you go to Megiddo, you can see a picture of him on there and his little edict, not edict, but his little proclamation that he made about that place. And it's known, he knows what his role and what's going to happen. But of course they have a different perspective of history, because the dragon has lied to them from where they get their power. But the deep thing is they know their role. And now it's just a matter of us knowing our role and playing our role as Israel. Okay, so Megiddo, when you want to look it up, we'll look at Judges. One of the first mentions of Megiddo. Judges 5, we'll look at verses 12 through 21 to get this understood. This is the song of Deborah. She says, wake up, Deborah. Wake up, sing a song. Arise, Barak, and lead your captives away, O son of Abinoam. Then he set the remnant to rule the nobles. Yah came down for me against the mighty ones out of Ephraim. Their root is against Amalek. After you, Benjamin, with your peoples out of Machir, and scribers came down, and out of Zebulun, those who handle the scribes' reeds. And the heads of Yissaschar were with Deborah, and as Yissaschar, so was Barak sent into the valley under his command. Among the divisions of Reuben, there were great searchings of heart. Why did you remain among the sheepfolds to hear the bleatings of the flocks? The division of Reuben have great searchings of heart. Gilad remained beyond the Jordan. And why did Dan remain on ships? Asher continued at the seashore and remained by its landing places. Zebulun is a people who risked their lives to the point of death. Naphtali also on the heights of the field. Sovereigns came, they fought. Then the sovereigns of Canaan fought in Taanach by the waters of Megiddo. They took no spoils of silver. From the heavens they fought. The stars from their courses fought against Sisera. The Wadi of Kishon swept them away. That age-old Wadi, the Wadi of Kishon, O my being, you have trampled in strength. Then stamped hooves of horses was the galloping of his steeds. Okay, so this is all about war. Megiddo, it will be the focal point of war. Okay, this is what this is about. And it is done. Okay, we've heard that before. We've heard that in the book of John, chapter 19, verses 28 through 30, as we're wrapping this up. After this, Yahushua, knowing that all had been accomplished, in order that the scripture might be accomplished, said, I thirst. A bowl of sour wine stood there, and they filled a sponge with sour wine, put it on hyssop, and held it to his mouth. So when Yahushua took the sour wine, he said, it has been accomplished. And bowing his head, he gave up his spirit. It is accomplished. It is done. Okay? Same thing said right there. So this is where we see that earthquake. I'm going to post that article to you. And verse 19 now, the city became divided into three parts. You're going to see an Islamic quarter. You're going to see a Christian quarter. And you're going to see a Jewish quarter of that particular city. Speaking of Jerusalem. Great Babel was remembered before Elohim to give her the cup of the wine of the fierceness of his wrath. And Great Babel is Iraq. Mystery Babel is Rome. So Iraq is going to be remembered and it is going to be judged. Okay, we're wrapping this up. Every island fled away. The mountains were not found. This is very reminiscent of the flood. Genesis 7, verses 17 through 24. It reads as follows. And the flood was on the earth 40 days, and the waters increased and lifted up the ark, and it rose high above the earth, and the waters were mighty and greatly increased on the earth, and the ark were moved about on the surface of the water. Same as the darkness in Genesis 1, the spirit moving on the waters. And the waters were exceedingly mighty on the earth, and all the mountains under all the heavens were covered. The waters became mighty, 15 cubits upwards, and the mountains were covered. Okay, so we're seeing the same thing there that was spoken of in Genesis. Okay, the mountains were not found because they were covered. These are speaking of governments now, of course, because now the government of the Father is about to be established and to be made to reign supreme over all mountains. Okay, the mountain of Zion will be the highest mountain exalted on earth. This is why this is taking place. Great hail from heaven fell upon men, every hailstone about a talent, so that's about 100 pounds. That's about 100 pounds, okay? And men still blasphemed Elohim for the plague of the hail, because that plague was exceedingly great. So, all this stuff here we're looking at is, either taking place now or very soon to take place. But let's look at Joshua 10:4. Over and out after this. No, that's not it. I'm sorry. We're going to go ahead and just close on out. I thought it was something else. It's not on there. But this is a very crucial chapter. This relates to the time that we're in right now, with so many happenings taking place in light of global affairs, current events, and we just have to be prepared because the signs are so evident, and that time is approaching, and we have to make sure that we're doing the will of the Father. And this book is addressing how we accomplish that and what we're to do, where we are to be. I know I speak behind enemy lines, but I encourage any and all who are able to make that transition to do it as soon as possible, because this is a short time that we have, a short window. We're seeing so many manifestations of just wickedness take place that we have to be prepared to deal with. Not to deal with, but to be prepared to make our transition and to get to safety, particularly for our children's sake. We have to make sure that everything is in order, that we are in order first, so we can receive that voice and listen to the word, because the word is what is instructing us. People talk, well, I'm waiting for God to speak to me directly and tell me to leave. Well, the word has already said it. Okay, it just has to ring and resonate in your spirit, because it's already been said. It's already been told Israel to come out of her, to come out. It's been said that, well, I'm waiting on him to deliver me. Well, I know this book tells us to deliver ourselves, to save ourselves. When you look at each captivity and Israel coming out of captivity, they brought themselves out of captivity, led by the Father. He led them, yes, in spirit, but they also had their spirit stirred, and they also acted on their own accord and volition. Same thing we have to do. We ain't gonna have no spaceships. There ain't no rapture happening. The only rapture that will happen is when we get to the land and see the salvation of the Father, and we will rejoice in rapturous pleasure, divine rapturous pleasure. So that's what we got to understand. That whole dream of a little child given to a pastor in the 19th century, save that. Save that. And these spaceships, they make the spaceships you want to get on. Nope. Every chariot that the Father had in his book was seen in vision. It wasn't seen for real. Okay, Elijah was taken up in a chariot that was spiritually discerned. Same with Enoch, spiritually discerned. It wasn't a literal thing. The vision of the wheels within the wheels that Ezekiel saw were in vision. They were in vision, okay? Not physically seen. No, in vision. Just like this book of Revelation, in vision, okay, in spirit. He saw it here. He didn't see it with these. He saw it here. In vision. So we got to attune ourselves spiritually so we can get in accord with this and move according to the Spirit and do what the Spirit tells us to do according to the Word. That's what this comes down to. So with that, I'll leave you all with a Aaronic blessing. Yivarechecha, Yahuwah vayishmerecha, Ya'ar Yahuwah panav alecha vayichnucha, Yisa Yahuwah panav alecha vayisam lecha shalom. May Yah bless you and keep you. May Yah cause his countenance to shine upon you, be kind unto you. May Yah lift up his face unto you and give you peace. One love. Shalom Aleichem.